Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. The tragic death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk has shaken the nation, sending shockwaves through political circles and sparking heated conversations about political violence, public safety, and legacy. For several days, many waited to hear from his widow, Erika Kirk, as she grieved privately with their two young children. Now, she has broken her silence in an emotional, faith-centered, and defiant public statement that has already begun shaping how Charlie will be remembered, not only as a controversial figure, but as a husband, father, and leader. The shooting. Charlie Kirk, just 31 years old, was gunned down during the first stop of his American Comeback Tour in Utah. The shooting sent the crowd into chaos as law enforcement scrambled to secure the scene and apprehend the suspect, a 22-year-old man now in custody. The investigation into motive and security lapses is still ongoing, but the devastating result is clear. One of the most prominent young conservative voices in America was silenced in an instant. Erika's first words. In her first appearance since the tragedy, Erika Kirk spoke with a mix of sorrow, gratitude, and determination. Her words were not merely a widow's grief, they were a declaration that Charlie's work and mission would not end with his life. She described Charlie as the perfect husband and perfect father, a man who lived and breathed his faith, his country, and his family. To Erika, this was not just a random act of violence but an attack on what Charlie stood for, and she cast him as a martyr for his beliefs. She said that Charlie had laid down his life for me, for our children, and for our nation. In her telling, his death was not in vain but would fuel a greater purpose. She invoked powerful biblical imagery, insisting that her husband would wear the glorious crown of a martyr, and pointed to scripture to frame his life and passing in terms of sacrifice and service. A wife, a mother, a widow. Erika shared how the loss has cut deeply into her role as a mother. She recalled their young daughter asking where her father had gone, to which she gently replied, "Daddy is on a work trip with Jesus." It was a heartbreaking glimpse into how she is navigating grief while trying to shield her children from the full reality of what has happened. She admitted that she has hardly slept since the shooting, overwhelmed by sorrow but also driven by conviction. "A fire has been ignited within me," she said. "My cries will echo around the world like a battle cry." These words, equal parts personal and political, underscored her message. Her husband's death will not end the fight he championed. Defiance toward the shooter. Erika did not shy away from addressing the person responsible. She referred to the gunman and those like him as evildoers, insisting that they had no idea what you just unleashed across this country and this world. In her view, the act meant to silence Charlie has instead amplified his voice through the people who loved him, worked alongside him, and believed in his mission. Faith as anchor. At the heart of her remarks was faith. Erika emphasized that even in a world filled with chaos and tragedy, God is still good. She quoted Ephesians 5:25, "Husbands, love your wives, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her," and said Charlie embodied this scripture not only in their marriage but in his public life. She framed his passing as part of a divine plan, something painful but purposeful, and urged others to see his death not as an end but as a continuation of God's work through those left behind. Carrying the torch. One of the most striking elements of her statement was her vow to carry on Charlie's legacy through his work at Turning Point USA. She announced that the organization would not fold in grief but would instead grow, stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever. Both the American Comeback Tour and Turning Point's signature conference, AmericaFest, will go on as planned. By declaring that the mission would continue, Erika positioned herself and Charlie's allies as the torchbearers of a movement now fueled by tragedy. Supporters have already begun to rally around this call, treating Charlie's death not just as a personal loss but as a catalyst for political energy. Gratitude and support. Amid her grief, Erika extended thanks to law enforcement, emergency responders, and those who acted quickly the night of the shooting. She acknowledged the support of close allies, including leaders who have stood by her family in these painful days. She also reflected on the outpouring of condolences from supporters across the nation, many of whom see Charlie not only as a political voice but as a personal inspiration. The woman behind the words. To many, Erika Kirk is stepping into a new, more public role, but she has long had a platform of her own. A former Miss Arizona USA, she built a career as a businesswoman, philanthropist, and podcaster before marrying Charlie in 2021. She founded Everyday Heroes Like You, a nonprofit supporting under-recognized charities, and she runs both a devotional podcast and a Bible in 365 ministry project. With two young children, a daughter born in 2022 and a son born in 2024, her life has been deeply intertwined with family and faith. Her remarks, therefore, were not those of a political outsider stepping into the spotlight, but of someone already used to balancing public service, faith work, and personal conviction. Now, however, she finds herself thrust into an even larger role, widow of a man whose death will resonate across political and cultural lines for years to come. The road ahead. What comes next is still uncertain. Investigators will continue piecing together the shooter's motives, the security failures that allowed the attack to happen, and the broader implications for political events nationwide. Turning Point USA will face the challenge of moving forward without its co-founder, though Erika's vow that the mission will continue signals that the organization's future is secure. On a personal level, Erika must balance raising two young children, processing her grief, and stepping into a new role as the keeper of her husband's legacy. Her defiant and faith-rooted remarks suggest she is prepared to shoulder this responsibility, but the emotional toll is impossible to ignore. Conclusion. Erika Kirk's statement was more than a widow's eulogy, it was a battle cry. She remembered Charlie as a devoted husband and father, lifted up his faith as the guiding principle of his life, and vowed to see his mission carried forward even in his absence. Her words blended mourning with resolve, personal pain with public defiance. In the wake of unimaginable loss, she has set the tone for how her husband will be remembered, not simply as a victim of violence, but as a man whose death will inspire others to fight even harder for what he believed in.